Hello, and welcome to this accounting feature overview video. In today's video, we'll be discussing the Sin7 Xero integration. The Sin7 and Xero integration works seamlessly together to ensure that the two solutions remain consistently in sync. By the end of this video, you should have a good understanding on what information is sent from Sin7 to your Xero account for all inventory-related transactions. So first, we'll look at the Xero dashboard. We'll look at how transactions appear in Xero. We'll look at which reports are used for reconciliation purposes. And lastly, we'll take a look at the help site documentation and where you can find additional help if required. Almost all the events related to the movement of inventory should be recorded within Sin7. These include purchases, sales, returned inventory items, and adjustments to your inventory values or quantities. Such records will give rise to transactions within Sin7. These transactions hold important financial information that will need to be recorded in your Xero account. This can be done at the single click of a button within Sin7. I'd like to draw your attention to the accounting dashboard, which you will now see on your screen. The accounting dashboard provides you with a centralized view for all information pertaining to accounting. This is where you can import and export information from Sin7 to your Xero account. Financial information will affect accounts such as sales, liability, current assets, direct costs, expense, etc. On the top left-hand side of the screen, you will see a Sync All button. This will allow you to sync all information awaiting to be exported to Xero at the single click of a button. Alternatively, you can use the checkbox on the sub-tabs to export only selected information. For example, if I wanted to select this particular customer and send that to Xero, I would just check the checkbox and click Uploaded Selected. Sub-tabs will show information for the main tab. So these are the main tabs here, and these are the sub-tabs. For example, on the screen you'll notice the main tab is Sales, and the sub-tabs include things such as customers, invoices, and credit notes. If you're using Payment Portal, you will also see Payments. The Purchases tab will show relevant information to your suppliers, supplier invoices, supplier credit notes, and if you are tracking inventory perpetually, you'll also notice a landed cost sub-tab. It is worth noting that Sin7 tracks inventory based on landed costs, so things such as freight, customs, and all other costs associated with acquiring your product will make up your inventory value, and later make up cost of goods sold. On that note, the next tab is the Adjustments and COGS tab, and the sub-tabs is Adjustments and COGS. Like cost of goods sold, adjustments will appear as a manual journal within Xero. If you are making changes to any of your invoices or bills within Sin7, we highly recommend using the accounting dashboard to re-import those changes to your accounting software. I will show you how to do this a little later in the video. It's worth noting that making changes in one software, but not the other, will lead to discrepancies. Sin7 will list all transactions that have discrepancies between the two softwares in the Discrepancies tab. There is a sub-tab for sales order discrepancies and purchase order discrepancies. If for any reason transactions are not successfully sent to Xero, Sin7 will list those transactions in the Errors tab. The Errors tab will provide you with important information about the particular transaction and why it did not successfully sync to Xero. A handy tip is to copy the error and paste the error into the search box on the help site. To access the help site from the Xero dashboard, click on the question mark on the top right-hand side. The last tab, the Admin tab. Most of the information in this particular tab has been downloaded from your Xero account. Tax rates are those that have been set up in your Xero account and downloaded to Sin7. Chart of accounts will list all accounts that appear in your chart of accounts within Xero. Accounts are related to alternative GL accounts which are set up in Sin7. That draws the demonstration in terms of the overview for the accounting dashboard to an end. In the next section, we will look at the setup wizard and how transactions appear in Xero. Before you can start using the Sin7 Xero integration, you'll first need to connect Sin7 to your Xero account. To do this, click to connect. Enter your login details as required, then click Allow Access. After you have successfully connected Sin7 to your Xero account and you've run the setup wizard, you'll now be able to send transactions from Sin7 to Xero. Before you start using the Xero dashboard to sync information to Xero, You'll need to run the setup wizard. The setup wizard was designed to make the setup process easy. To run the setup wizard, from the right-hand side, click Settings. Then click Start Setup Wizard. This page will provide you with an overview of how to set up your Xero integration. You'll need to choose your inventory method, either perpetual or periodic. If you have questions or concerns, please contact your accountant or your bookkeeper to ensure you choose the right inventory method for your business. For demonstration purposes, I will be selecting perpetual. The next step would be to choose your default account. Once you have successfully chosen all your default accounts, click Next, then click Back to Setup. It is at this point you will have successfully connected Sin7 to your Xero account. After you've successfully run the setup wizard and have connected Sin7 to your Xero account, you can start sending information between the two systems. Let's get started with a purchase order. To create a purchase order, from the top navigation, select Purchase Order, then click New Purchase Order. Here, you need to enter a vendor. For demonstration purposes, I will select Cash Supplier. Scroll down to the Orders Details section where you can enter product information. Enter the quantity and enter the unit cost. To ensure that this particular transaction appears on the Xero dashboard, this transaction needs an invoice date and a supplier invoice number. To ensure that you can sell this particular product and generate cost of goods sold, enter a fully received date once you have actually received the goods in your store. Then click Approve. This transaction will now appear on the Xero dashboard to be imported to your accounting software. To import this particular transaction, from the left navigation, select Accounting, then select Xero. From the Main tab, select Purchases. You'll see the cash supplier has appeared. Check the tick box and click Upload selected. You'll notice that the contact has disappeared from this sub-tab. That means the transaction has been successfully imported to your accounting software. To import the bill, you'll need to head over to the next sub-tab, Supplier Invoices. Here, you will see all information pertaining to that particular purchase order. You have the transaction type, the order reference, the date in which that transaction was invoiced, the order status, the order total, and the matching contact within Xero. If, for example, you would like to make changes to this particular transaction within Sin7, you can click on the link here. It will redirect you to the purchase order. When you're ready to send the transaction from Sin7, click the checkbox and select Upload Selected. This transaction will have successfully been imported to your accounting software. To view this transaction in your accounting software, log into Xero, click Business, click Bills to Pay. By default, all transactions from Sin7 will be imported to your Xero account in a draft state. This is how transactions appear in your Xero account. You'll notice the supplier information has been sent, the date, the due date, the order reference, the total amount, and the line item details. For example, pants and shirt. Both values have gone through to the default stock on hand account. Please note that Sin7 can only import FIFO-based products to one current asset account. Now let's look at a sales order and how that invoice appears in Xero. To do this, go back to Sin7 and create a sales order. To create a sales order, from the left navigation, select Sales, then New Sales Order. Enter company information, then enter the line item, for example, pants and t-shirt. Change the quantities as required. Please take note of this account column as I will make a reference to it later. In order for this transaction to appear in the accounting dashboard, you'll need to ensure that the order total is greater than 0 and the invoice date has been entered. For cost of goods sold purposes, please ensure that you have entered a fully dispatched date as this will prompt Sin7 to generate cost of goods sold for all line items on this particular transaction. Once you have done all that information, click Approve. This transaction will now appear in the accounting dashboard to be imported to Xero. To import this transaction, from the left navigation, select Accounting, then select Xero. From the Sales tab, you'll notice the sub-tab Customers. Successfully import that customer by checking on the tick box and selecting Upload Selected. To import the invoice, go to the second sub-tab and select the transaction you wish to import. Like the Supplier Invoices tab, the Invoices tab for the customers also shows a lot of information, like customer name, transaction type, invoice number, order reference. Again, you can click on this link to take you to the particular transaction within Sin7. This date here is based off the invoice date. Back to the topic at hand. Once you have selected the transaction, click Upload Select. That particular transaction will now appear in your Xero account. To view this particular transaction in Xero, log into Xero, and from the Businesses tab, select Invoices. You'll notice that the customer information has been successfully imported. The date, the due date will be specified based on the payment terms that you've specified within Sin7. The line item details will show the description, the quantity, the price as a tax exclusive value, and the account. Remember how there was an account specified within Sin7? Well, that account has ensured that this particular line item has been sent over to a separate or an alternative general ledger account. The tax rate can also be specified within Sin7 as well. In addition, if you are using tracking categories, that is also possible via the integration. Marking transactions will allow you to filter information in financial reports. You'll notice that this particular transaction has been imported as approved state. The history on the bottom left-hand side allows you to see what changes have been made to the transaction. Please note that all transactions that have been imported via the Sin7 integration, or API, will be marked as system generated. Now let's move on to Sin7's reports for reconciliation purposes. You'll need to return to Sin7. From the left navigation, select Reports, then click Standard Reports. If you require reports regarding sales, we have all these sales reports here. In terms of reconciling sales values between Sin7 and Xero, I highly recommend to use the Sales by Customer Invoice Date report. To reconcile inventory value, if you scroll down to the Finance section, there is a Stock on Hand Xero reconciliation report. This particular report is broken down via months. You can click on the link on the left-hand side, which will show you all transactions related to that particular month. You can export this information into a VLOOKUP outside of Sin7. If you are batching transactions, a very handy report to reconcile batch payments is the Payments by Branch Payment Date report. To access that report, from the left navigation, select Reports and select Retail Report Dashboard. From the right-hand side under Register and Payments is a Payments by Branch report. This will show you information such as the batch reference and the order reference. This will allow easy use in terms of reconciling batch settlements from your payment provider. The last report is the Cost of Goods Sold report. As you know, cost of goods sold values are imported from Sin7 to Xero as a manual journal for a given month. To see a breakdown of that particular value, you can use the Xero QBO COGS breakdown report. If you have any additional questions or concerns, you're more than welcome to access our help site. Our help site URL is help.sin7.com. For information related to accounting specifically, click on Integration Apps. Then click on Xero. This is where you will find all information. And that draws our video to a close.